Well, the company was established as it is today in about 1926 by my grandfather, Walter Bailey, and his new wife in a place called Nanning, which was on the Great Southern Line, so I'm told, in Western Australia, where they were a general store. Now, the general store meant that they had some stock feed, some groceries, perhaps small amounts of fertiliser. They were certainly with the local post office and maybe the local telephone exchange. They had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and they stayed there for about 10 years, and they moved to Spearwood. Now, Spearwood in those days was a market gardening, flower growing, poultry farming, dairy farming area, and they established their store with stock feeds, again groceries, telephone exchange, local post office, and some fertilisers. That business ran successfully whilst their family grew. Ultimately, I don't think the boys got on too well together, but my father did overseas war service. In that time, he'd got married. When he came back in about 1946, he went back to the family business, and things hadn't improved with his brother. So he decided to go down the road to Hamilton Hill. He bought an established produce store there and started under his own name. He developed quite a substantial business selling produce, fertilisers and small amounts of chemical to the local fraternity. If you can imagine, from Hamilton Hill to Pinjarra, out to Albany Highway and out towards Armidale. So that business flourished. We subsequently moved to Hampton Road in South Fremantle, where we lived. I was 12 years old when we went to that place, and I did my secondary schooling there with my sister. My parents were running the business. In 1957 I left school. In 1958 I joined the business. I sort of had to, in a way. He's a fairly strong-willed individual. My father and I worked very well together. There was an opportunity for us to go into the turf industry, or the lawn industry, if you like. There was nothing specifically on the market in those days for that industry in terms of fertiliser, so we decided to develop one of those, and we were quite successful in then selling that on to golf clubs and sporting clubs and local authorities. Out of the blue one day, a phone call came from David Jones, asking Baileys, or CH Bailey as we were then, could we supply blood and bone, and of course we could. So that's what led us into the domestic fertiliser business. As we evolved into that industry, we started to make potting mix. And during that period, my father decided that I was probably capable of running the business, so he decided to sort of take a backward step, which he did. And I took over, subsequently married, and we developed a brand called TriStar, which in the late 60s, early 70s was bought out by a national company. In that time, I'd remarried and children had started to come along, and we decided to dedicate our business to strictly manufacture of fertilisers, and we moved to this site in Kwinana in 1992. Three children were growing up as they were, and time moved on. Richard was the youngest. When he turned 17, he didn't want to go on with his schooling. He came straight into the business. He's been here ever since, and he is now a production manager. His older sister, Genevieve, went to university, did an art degree, tried to go into the fashion business with some help from her dad. And a casual conversation one day on the phone with her father realised that she might like to come into the business at some time. When she ultimately returned, she came straight in the business, took over the marketing role at Bailey's, and she's still here today doing an excellent job. Her older brother was the same. He went off to university, did 2 degrees, got himself an excellent job in Perth. But again, a casual conversation with him one day, when he came back, he decided that it might be easy for him to come into Bailey. So James is also here now. So that's about where we are today. The three of them are here. Their mother's also employed here. She looks after human relations and all our staff.
It really has come from our family values, sort of generationally inherited values. Kim from his father and James, Rich and I from mum and dad. In terms of quality, ethical behaviour, we've established a really trusted brand, an authentic brand, and really promote the use of quality products within the industries. I think being a family, in terms of our strategic direction, that it definitely plays a part in that. What we are personally passionate about affects that. So, sort of taking the business in a greener direction is something that James and I and Richard are quite passionate about.
The environment's always been a big focus for our company. A great example of this is our Brilliance fertiliser, which is the first phosphate-free fertiliser in Western Australia. So this was certainly ahead of government regulation, which is now currently starting to regulate phosphorus use. And so looking at the future, one of our products that we're currently producing is Energy, Turf and Garden. These products combine both an organic aspect to them and inorganic, like all the conventional fertilisers we've been using in the past. But we're incorporating these together in a granule. So what we're doing now is aiming to feed the soil as well as the plant and the grass. We can start to do this with all our fertilisers in the future. And globally, there's a real big chance here to help improve total environment overall.
The growth of the business has gone pretty exponential. Everything's automated where bag and potting mixes off in 100 cubic metre lots. Today we employ 16 people in production. And before, back when I started, there was probably about 10 people running production. We used to be running probably just an 8-hour day shift to maybe a 10-hour day shift. Now we're working 18 to 24 hours non-stop.
We used to be known as the fertiliser family, which for some reason that worked. I would have called ourselves that. But I think it's really about lifestyle. Fertiliser isn't sexy, but everybody loves being with their family in a beautiful garden and entertaining. And the fact that it's quality and it works, people can trust the brand.
I think going into our fourth generation is very important as well. I'm aware now that the children want to run this business on, so I'm looking forward to that. Dare I say it, but I think a lot of satisfied staff. We've got some very loyal staff. Some of them have been with us into their second lot of long service leave. So.
Being inducted into the FBA Hall of Fame is fantastic. It really signifies or recognises the work of my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather. So that's really fantastic because there's been a lot of hard work put into this business and this brand to get it where it is today.